Hello everybody and welcome back to the P1 podcast with Matt and Thomas James Bellingham. Yes, we are here and you might be able to tell my voice is on its last legs. I have been screaming. I mentioned this in Funniest Tweets, which you would have maybe seen yesterday, but yeah, I actually, we don't watch many races together, but we went to an event at an F1 arcade, and it was quite special, actually, being there together as a family and watching Charles Leclerc win the Monaco Grand Prix. Oh, I'm going to be insufferable. Lock in, get your seatbelts on.
Yeah, it's a shame the race was abysmal, to say the least, and this is coming from the biggest Monaco fan, but we'll dive into it later. But it was cool to watch it with other Formula One fans and yourself, fans. Of course. Of course.
Right, no, that's fine. Don't worry about it, yeah, it's cool.
And of course, like you've waited a long time for a Leclerc victory. It's been too long, I think, to say the least. And what a way to do it.
Yeah, Austria 2022, even though Crofty, I saw in commentary, said Australia 2022, and I'm like, bruv, come on, that's not correct. It hasn't been that long, but it still has felt like a very long time since Charles Leclerc won a race, and I cannot believe he still only has 6 wins to his name. But he has added one to his tally, and let's dive straight into my most memorable moment, which is Leclerc winning in Monaco.
No, surely not.
Yes, absolutely. Oh, the emotion. Like, it was the worst race I think I've ever seen. But the ending, the result was perfection. It's a weird one as well, because at one part of my brain's going, this is in the bag from lap 2. Like, this is done. This is dusted. This is Monaco. But on the other side, you go, there could be 1,000 different things that go wrong. Thankfully, none of those 1,000 things went wrong, and Charles Leclerc won the Monaco Grand Prix. Did you know that?
He sure did. And actually,
he did.
This is not to take anything away from him, because he deserves the victory.
I swear to God, if you take anything
away
from him...
No, I'm not taking anything away from him.
I will run through you.
But what I'm saying is, like, essentially, and he deserves some luck, because my God, is he an unlucky Formula One driver. Everything went right, really. The fact that he's been on pole before at Monaco, and there was this whole narrative of like, well, what can go wrong? Like, there's so many things can go wrong at Monaco. You're vulnerable when you're in the lead. Things can happen. So, firstly, essentially, the red flag, meaning, well, he's got it in the bag because it's a no-stop race. Secondly, Carlos Sainz getting reinstated, so he's not essentially got 2 McLarens to deal with together, which could have made the race interesting and added variety, because they could have worked together or done some kind of strategy potentially. Even things like Lance Stroll and his tyre coming off just as it entered the pits, and it went into the pits, so there was no safety car. And I say all this like I'm saying that he got some good fortune, but he deserves it, because he should have won the Monaco Grand Prix before. And through no fault of his own in 2022, should have won it, didn't. And we've said many times that it is a race you can win on Saturday. And he basically did that. But it's not to take anything away from him, because it was a brilliant weekend and the guy deserves it. We have this banter of me sort of, joking about Leclerc and his misfortune just to wind you up. But what I will say is... the emotion of him winning Monaco, all the stuff you've heard about, like, for a guy from Monaco to win the Monaco Grand Prix, it's special enough anyway to win Monaco, but for it to be a home race as well, really, really special moment. Really, really deserves it.
Keep going. Yeah, we love to hear that. And not only that, of course, the emotion of him thinking about his dad. He mentioned that after the race, that he was thinking about his dad, thinking about Jules, just all of these people that have been a part of his life that he's tragically lost. And it was such a beautiful crescendo of something that he deserved. He deserved to win the Monaco Grand Prix. You could see how much it meant to him when he was out of the car and in his team radio. He was screaming, and he had to compose himself in the post-race interview. And that is what I live for when it comes to not just Charles Leclerc, but Formula One. We saw it with Lando Norris, how much it meant to him in Miami. These storylines are something that you kind of get robbed of when someone dominates all the time. You think, winning an F1 is just another day at the office. And that's no disrespect to Verstappen or Hamilton or whoever. That's just them doing the job. But when you do have these other drivers that have never won a race before, never won at their home Grand Prix, it just such a feel-good moment. And that's the reason why my voice is in absolute tatters, is because obviously we were in F1 Arcade, there were other people there, then they all started cheering, and I was just like, right. And I just started screaming my head off. And I wondered about what could go wrong, and thankfully nothing did.
It's crazy. It's only his fourth Monaco Grand Prix in a car that you could even argue not even capable of winning the race, because 2021 he stuck it on pole, but I don't think that car was a race-winning car. He's just so good at Monaco as well. I think it is awesome that it is almost like his best track. I know he's got this like awful record beforehand, but that is down to a bit of bad luck, and these things can happen at Monaco. But in terms of just like raw speed, he's so good. Even when the car isn't, championship winning or whatever, like he has delivered and shown that he is the fastest around it. He just needed some good fortune to go his way, or not even just good fortune, just not bad luck. And that's exactly what
just
happened.
Not horrendous luck and race-changing moments, not in his favour. And also, we learned as well that Charles Leclerc could easily be an Olympic diver after Ferrari's video that they posted of Charles pushing Fred in and then jumping in after him. Honestly, the form on that bloke, is there anything he's actually not good at?
That is exactly what I watched that, and like Fred jumps in and then Charles just does this like perfect Olympic dive, and I'm like, that guy is like one of those like insufferable people at school that's good at everything, and you're like, why are you so good at stuff?
Even you quote tweeted saying like, how has he dived in and still kept his hat on? Like, it's things like that. It just, I'm going to look perfect at all times, no problem. First question or just comment from P1 Patreon member Ali. So, championship back on? Thinking face and then laughing face. Look, okie dokie. 31 points is easily surmountable. Now, are Ferrari the quickest car? No. Are they likely to be the quickest car at any point? No. Am I going to believe that Charles Leclerc is going to become world champion? Yes. Because it is mathematically possible. And look, we're off the back of 3 race weekends where Red Bull have been beatable. This isn't a one-off. We saw it in Imola. We saw it in Miami before that. And then, of course, today in Monaco. And I know that when we go to these more open tracks, I'm sure that they will be quickest. But my brain's going, maybe, just maybe, we've actually got some sort of battle on our hands here, which I know is going to be clipped up when Max Verstappen wins by 200 points at the end of the year. But right now, there is a small, tiny glimpse of belief here that if Red Bull have, for the rest of the season, half where they're amazing, half where they're not, if you throw in a Ferrari team that is probably the most efficient team out there at the moment in terms of both drivers being in the mix. Carlos Sainz hasn't finished outside the top 5 when he's driven. Charles hasn't finished outside the top 4. They are picking points up left, right and centre. And if Ferrari bring a good upgrade, and I'm in. I'm absolutely in. Charles Leclerc, world champion 2024.
Wow. Look, they surprisingly, and sorry to like mention this, but they would have been hoping that this form, like I'm sure a lot of people will be going like, why were we not doing this in 2022 when we had a car that was capable of beating Red Bull and probably had the fastest car at the start of the year? Because the problem was they were throwing away points, whereas now it's flipped completely the other way, where they are the team that are getting the maximum every single weekend, really. and Charles done that as well. Done what he could, best of the rest behind like the Red Bulls. Obviously picking up second behind Sainz in that race, and he's just delivered like a very consistent championship so far. I don't think anyone would have predicted in 8 races time that Charles Leclerc would be almost just over a race win of Max. I don't think anyone would have seen that, particularly after Bahrain when Red Bull was so far clear. I think it's a stretch, but stranger things have happened. But I think Constructors' Championship, Perez is now down in 5th in the championship. I don't think it's an absolute wild possibility to think that Ferrari could win the constructors with the consistency of those two drivers. They're so consistent, both of them.
24 points behind Red Bull are Ferrari. As you say, Perez down to 5th. And I know that would I take the constructors over the drivers? Absolutely not.
No.
But it will still make for a fascinating storyline if Perez continues to struggle. He's now... we'll get into the incident of lap 1, but I'm not. Obviously, he's put himself in that situation from qualifying, so it's not like he was completely not to blame in terms of being involved in something. But yeah, Ferrari firing on all cylinders. I am fully backing Fred Vasseur. I would trust him with my life. That man is clearly very capable of leading Ferrari, but also incredibly likable. He's making Ferrari a very, Ferrari, everyone loves Ferrari no matter whoever you're a fan of, but it's almost like you love Ferrari, the allure, but there's almost that level of likability
fun
that McLaren kind of bring, and I love it. I absolutely love it. I love that Fred's just bringing his own personality
during the
to
Miami celebrations and little moments like that. I love it.
When would you have ever seen a Ferrari team boss jump into the Monaco harbour?
Well, yeah, exactly. Like, that wasn't the Jean Todt vibe, was it? Like, of that, they were very
similar
serious,
heights, but that was about it.
But the thing is, you could argue that if the results weren't coming, you'd go, "Oh, Fred, like, stop clowning about and stuff." But they're
celebrating with McLaren, Fred. Chill.
Yeah, exactly. But they are delivering, so they can show that they can have this fun, relaxed attitude. But they are sorting things out. We've not seen stupid strategies. They are delivering the maximum.
And as well with that, the change that you say making changes, Charles's radio engineer that he now has, so much more concise,
so much better. Like,
just
their
so much better. No more we are
so
checking.
Yeah.
It's we are not interested. That's what it is. Like Charles asks, no, Charles, shut up and drive is basically what they were saying, and it's just streamlined. It's in Imola, you had him basically G'ing up Charles. You're doing a great job. Like all these things that you might think are tiny, tiny things, but they all add up. And I think that is definitely something that Charles will then entrust in Ferrari if they can continue to deliver like that. So, we're fully in belief mode now. Red Bull finished. Next question, Polski Polak _2. We've had 4 winners in 8 races so far this season. God, that sounds good to say out loud. Has this start already exceeded our expectations for the season? By my last comment, you probably know where I'm going with that. And does it give us hope going forward? Yes, I don't think we're going to have 4 out of the whole year, and we're in 4 and 8, which I will absolutely take.
That's more than last year, right? Already?
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah, because it was Sainz
just Sainz, Perez, and Verstappen,
and Red Bull, which is utterly. I don't want to think about that ever again in 2023. But I don't think it's the end of this. We've got McLaren still looking. I'm actually, if McLaren were closer, especially with Lando, closer in the Drivers' Championship. Lando's 56 points behind Max Verstappen. If he was where Charles is now, I would be getting very excited if I was a McLaren fan.
For the high-speed tracks and things like that.
Well, but I mean, McLaren, I don't think many of us thought that McLaren would be just as good as they were around here, which I think is really promising for them moving forward, that they can challenge almost week in, week out. But yes, it does give us hope. I think Piastri's going to get a win at some point. If he can stick it on pole in Singapore or something, absolutely. I don't think there's too many tracks that will suit Oscar's very aggressive nature, which then at the end of the race, we saw it even today, didn't we? That he fell off a cliff because of that. Just that level of not being able to manage the tyres as well as the drivers around him. But that being said, yeah, Oscar had a fantastic weekend, and I think he will make it 5 different winners at some point, I would like to think. And then
Hope
we'll see.
so. Yeah, very much hope so. I mean, again, yeah, four winners in 8 races. Start the season, it looked like, oh, he can't win every race. And now we're here.
He can't.
Where, yeah, he's already kind of, he hasn't. And Red Bull, I think they will improve, like you say. But this is maybe a bit of my Max fanboy coming out here. But I do think the Red Bull is nowhere near as dominant as Formula One cars that we've seen in the past, and it is Max driving exceptionally well. And it is down to a lot of Max that's made that Red Bull look so dominant and bulletproof, and they're just so clear. But it's always a different person, and he stepped up, like in Imola, for example. But Monaco was a disaster for them really, and there will be other races like that, like Singapore. It's not just going to be that one race this season. There could be more. So it's our expectations were through the floor, and now it's like, and I think that has helped, where it's kind of like, oh wow, this is actually like not a bad season so far.
What's going on here? And that's off the back of one of the worst Grand Prix we've ever seen. But overall, from a championship perspective, game on. Charles Leclerc, come on, baby, you can do it. Okay, Tommy, I mean, do you have any other most memorable moments? I guess there's only one,
Yes,
really.
The only thing that happened. It was, of course, the lap 1 crash. There's kind of 2 parts to this. There was, which we'll get into. Yeah. So
Tommy, pop off.
So the first bit of this, like the first lap crash, was, oh my word, like that is a big one, because it took so long for them to show the actual incident. We were racing all the way like past the tunnel, and then it cut to Perez's car that was like completely. I thought he'd been like in the catch fencing or something, or like upside down, because all the wheels had gone. Like you rarely see a Formula One car that destroyed. And then like the craziness of that, the Ocon incident, and we'll get into that in a sec. But then also the fact that my instant thought, once I knew everyone was okay and it was a red flag, I was like, oh no, they can change tyres. That's the race done.
Oh no, yeah.
Which again, we'll get into that a little bit later. But yeah, the lap 1 crash was chaotic.
You're making it sound like we've got a lot to talk about from this Monaco Grand Prix.
This is the only incident, because it is literally the only thing that happened. What a chaotic start. It was wild.
I will go back to your point about it being so long to see the incident. And I do wonder if, and I said this in Funniest Tweets, where I wonder if they were focusing on the front. Obviously, they don't want to cut away from the front immediately. They've seen the crash and gone, holy cow, Perez's car is not in a good state here. Let's just make sure he's okay before we then cut to the scene, which is what they think they did when he was out the car. So I think that's
of course,
my understanding of what that reason of that was. It did feel weird, obviously, because usually at any other track you'd see it in the background and they would cut to it. Whereas,
and also it's so
Monaco,
long before they're going to get round to that point again that you don't need to throw a red flag immediately, because there's going to be no cars coming past that for another minute or so. So
yeah, exactly. So I think they did the right thing with that, because it was quite a visibly scary thing to see, and so glad to see all drivers okay. Now let's go to the part where we need to discuss, although I'm not sure much discussion or deliberation or arguing will happen here. Who was at fault? K-Mag, Perez, or a racing incident? This is one of the most audacious, ridiculous, and quite frankly, verging on silly, for want of a better word, move to have done from Kevin Magnussen. What is he doing? Has he booked an all-inclusive holiday somewhere else during the Canadian Grand Prix weekend? Because that's the only thing I can think of. He's 2 points away from a race ban, and the bloke has sent it up the inside, not really, but enough to obviously make contact with Perez up the hill. Now, he said in his post-race interview, my front left was in line with Perez's right rear. Yeah, mate, but it was, and then you lost the back end slightly coming out of turn 1. Then you got a little bit better of a launch and back sort of again by his rear wheel. But bruv, you're in Monaco. what are you doing? And he knows the walls, the barriers go like this. It's not a straight line that's really easy to go side by side. Okay, Perez could have given him a slight bit more room on the left, but why would he? Why would he think in anyone's right mind that they would go side by side? Perhaps if he'd ID'd the driver and seen it was K-Mag, he might have done so, but maybe in that moment he didn't. Just ridiculous. K-Mag, I can't believe he did not get a penalty. It was no further investigation. Like, are you serious, FIA? And I know Tommy's got a lot to say on this, but I can't believe he got away with without a penalty. I do feel sorry for Perez, but it was Perez's qualifying that brought him into that mess. So from a racing perspective, like, it is kind of Perez's fault. But from the incident itself, that is a K-Mag slam dunk. See you after Canada because you're banned.
Indeed, yeah. Like, watching it, it was a bit like, of course, Perez got a worse run out of the corner, but the move was never on. And okay, if it's the main straight in Baku that's about 6 cars wide and is a straight, then yeah, make that move, go alongside, and you've got every opportunity there. But everyone knows that that part of Monaco, it's not a straight, it like twists and turns. So it is so brave to stick your nose in. And the most ridiculous thing with K-Mag, and this is what annoys me about the penalty point system, we'll get into this, but the whole point of penalty points is that you get banned, and it's meant to be a kind of thing that is put in place to stop you from driving recklessly and being involved in crashes. So when you are one incident away from a race ban, why are you sticking your nose in such a brave move? Because you can say all you like that Perez has kind of got a worse run off the corner, and if Magnussen had been on no penalty points, then it's still a dumb thing to do and it's a bit ridiculous. But you kind of go, oh, okay, well, see why I did it. But the whole point of penalty points is that it's meant to stop drivers from making consistently dangerous driving and causing crashes. So how can they say that penalty points is stopping Kevin Magnussen from doing reckless and dangerous driving? Because the whole point of it is it's meant to, and they are racing drivers at the end of the day. They all like this. We say this with the sprints, don't we? And when they're battling over like not even a point, they're racing drivers and they want to go for moves. But the whole point of penalty points is it's meant to be like, you know what? I'm up the inside of Perez. The wall's closing in here. I'm on 10 penalty points. It's lap 1 of a 78-lap race. Maybe I should back out. No. Oh, I've also taken my teammate out in this incident. Brilliant. But yeah, it's not good, is it? It's just, I was actually fuming on the watch along about the decision.
I know you were.
As well.
I feel like you've chilled out a little bit because you were about to say some crazy things.
Well, the next question is more like in relation to that, I think. But for the actual thing of who was at fault, yeah, like it's way more on K-Mag because you have to know when it's time to back out of the move.
P1 Patreon member Erin comes in with a question. Should the FIA redesign the penalty point system? They've made it very clear that no one will ever get banned, so what's the point? Yes. Either
That's your rant.
Yeah. I mean, either that or they've just... I don't know. I don't know what's going on with it, to be honest with you, because you've highlighted it already, Tommy, that they seem to throw penalty points out like no tomorrow when people have a clean license or anywhere up to about 9, and then they go, well, actually, I don't think you deserve a penalty for T-boning someone straight into the barrier. No, I don't think you should get a point for that. Right,
okay, I'm going to pop off now.
Give it to me.
Pisses me off, right?
Ooh, hello.
I was watching the race, and I watched the Ocon and Gasly incident, and it reminded me that Pierre Gasly was so close to a race ban, and I said then there's no way they'll ever ban it, and they had their crash. Gasly I don't want to see anyone banned either, just to make that completely like I don't have an agenda against any driver. I don't want to see any driver get banned from Formula One.
Unless they deserve it.
But if that they are the rules, then and that is the system in place, then the whole point of it is it should encourage people to not do silly driving. And in Australia last year, Gasly did a completely unsafe rejoin in front of his teammate. They smashed into each other, and you knew exactly what they'd do. Oh, they're teammates, it doesn't matter. Ocon hits Gasly in this race, and he gets a penalty within about 3 seconds. Conveniently, Gasly's not on 10 penalty points anymore, or like Ocon was on 10 penalty points, otherwise he wouldn't have given it to him. And the first lap incident thing also makes no sense, because as soon as it was on the first lap, I was like, well, that is a get out of jail free card for them immediately, because they always feel like they can be a bit more lenient on first lap. But then if they are lenient on first lap, why has Ocon got a penalty so quickly and they've decided it in 0.1 of a second?
Yeah, he got a 10-second penalty and the bloke's not even in the car. He's out the race and he's got a 10-second penalty.
Yeah, but again, like, they decided it so quickly, they're like, no further action. I'm sorry, is this penalty point system not meant to, like I said, like, stop drivers from doing consistent errors? So the whole point of it should be that someone like K-Mag just chills the F out for a bit until he's back on like 5 or 6 penalty points, but he won't, and it just makes a mockery of the system. It's just ridiculous. Actually, it's just proved my point completely that they'll never do it, and they will, he could just do it again, and they'll just be like, oh, okay. Oh, well, no, actually, it's no penalty points. And then Fernando Alonso makes a move in a sprint race and gets 3, which is a quarter of the way to getting a race ban. But
for the tiniest touch in China on Carlos Sainz that forced Carlos slightly wide, and he got 3 penalty points for that. K-Mag has sent Perez sideways up Monaco Hill and caused one of the biggest crashes we've seen this year.
Yeah, exactly. He was already on loads.
And he didn't get one. None.
And how many should he have got in Miami as well? Because there were multiple incidents, and they just gave him 3. So he got the same. He got the same as Alonso.
3? I can't remember, but
they gave him 3 for the whole race. And he did how many things? He cut the corner. He crashed into someone. Loads of things. They'll never do it, and just, I guess, thank you, FA, for proving my point that you're never going to ban someone. So,
oh, baby, Tommy's out, and he's out with an absolute roar. Right, next question. P1 Patreon member Abu Dhabi 2021 Survivor asks, is Ocon getting fired or just suspended? Now, that was coming out of Bruno Faman and a translated quote, I believe. Was it not?
Yes.
So apparently he threatened consequences over Ocon's move on Gasly. Now, what those consequences will be, I don't know. I mean, that would be quite something if they benched Ocon.
Sky were really trying to twist what it actually was, where it was like, oh, and he was seen talking to Jack Doohan. It's like, yes, it's their reserve driver. Was he meant to ignore him for the rest of the day?
Maybe. But I can't. I'm sure he was just fuming at the time. Shouldn't really be saying that anyway if he's not going to follow through with it, because that's quite, unless he's just threatening Ocon to fall in line. But I don't know. It just, that whole move was just quite something, wasn't it, from Ocon? Because apparently, according to Gasly, it seemed like there were some orders in place that they don't do that thing of battling like they did in Miami in Monaco, because there's literally no point. But Ocon decided to send one up the inside anyway, because why not? Try and show who's better. Their relationship is so hilarious to watch.
We're fine. Oh, DTS are loving life right now.
We're good. We're friends now. Everything in the past is behind us. They put their racing helmet on and they're like, okay, let's go. And then they will fight till the absolute last millimetre, and then some, and Ocon will go flying and then be out of the race. It's just a fascinating teammate relationship that never should have happened, and yet they're in the same team.
Yeah. I mean, Alpine in the first place, like, yeah, let's put these two together. What could go wrong? And they've crashed once before. They somehow avoided each other in Miami, but it was incredibly close racing, and it was one of those moments where just like these two, all they want to do is beat each other. They do not care about anything else, it feels like. And
they would rather finish 7th and 8th with the other person, whichever driver finishing ahead of them, than finishing 1, 2, and then that person finishing second.
Yeah.
It's insane that they do not put the team first at all.
No, and this just proved it. And Ocon, apologising and stuff. But at the end of the day,
did he apologise? I missed that.
He did. Well, he did a tweet saying like, his tweet was very much like Bruno had a gun to his head while he was tweeting
Today's incident was my fault. The gap was too small in the end, and I apologise to the team on this one, hoping for a deserved points finish for the team today.
Yeah, that was a like. I'm surprised he didn't write that out multiple lines like he was in detention.
It was my fault. It was my fault. It was my fault.
But we go on about Fred and being like this lovable team boss. Could it be any more different to Alpine? And then basically being like, yeah, I am fuming. We're going to have strong words. I'm going to threaten that, you're going to potentially be fired or whatever, or however they translated it.
Consequences.
Consequences. There will be consequences.
Ocon will not have dessert at dinner.
There will be no... exactly. I don't think for a second they'll suspend him. That would be absolutely outrageous. And the last thing Alpine need when they are sort of making a bit of progress now and getting through the field is just more kind of drama and chaos, really. They don't need it. They just need to like get on with it. And I know it's like laughable and DTS will milk it and for everything it's worth, but they do just need to like put it behind them and just say, you know what, it's done now, get on with it and don't happen again. And then we'll see them go side by side at the next race. What is it? Spain 100%. Next race? Turn 1.
Canada.
Why not? Canada, sorry, yeah. The calendar's confusing me now. I need to recheck it.
Next question comes in from O2 Rachel Rebecca. Should there be a rule that if there's a restart on the first few laps, you still have to do a mandatory pit stop? Now, I understand where the reasons for being able to do whatever you want to the car, to fix it, to change tyres. I think the problem here is that it ticks off the mandatory pit stop part. I don't see what the benefit is of doing that side of things. Like, a lot of people go, oh, you shouldn't be able to... Like, we've had it in the past, haven't we, with Monaco, and was it Vettel was really struggling on tyres or something? Or I can't remember who it was.
Monaco 2011, it won in the race because he could just have that free stop at the end on the red flag.
And fine, I think that's the same as having a safety car or not. You get lucky, whatever, you can change tyres.
Yeah.
Because you never know in a red flag, if you pick up debris, it'll get very difficult if not. But the mandatory part, I don't see a reason as to why that is the case. Do you, Tommy? Do you see any reason that it actually ticks the pit stop done in terms of the rules?
Yeah, it's a very good point that you totally understand why, because front wings fall off in a red flag or there's debris or whatever, you could change your tyres, but it shouldn't be that you can now get your pit stop out of the way, because you can argue, but people would have pitted, but then that is the part of a gamble of a red flag or a safety car. We've seen it in the past where this red flag rule has actually helped create a crazy result or given someone an amazing advantage. And it's one of those things, unfortunately, where if this rule was a thing and there was a red flag and somehow it made like Logie Sarge win the race, we'd all be going, oh my God, like that was crazy because it created this amazing lottery. But when it's, there is nothing worse for the Monaco Grand Prix, which however much I love it, I know people's frustration with it. And the only thing, particularly now it's a one-stop unfortunate race, that is the thing to look forward to, and the whole jeopardy of the race is that first stop. So for that to be cancelled out on lap 1 was basically like, just give Charles the trophy now. The race is over. Like, it turned into a 1-corner Grand Prix from the start of that race, and that is what was so painful, I think, from it. That was like, oh no, that's killed this race, because there were so many narratives if that race had carried on, and so many stories that could have been interesting, because you had the two McLarens together. Charles would have then had to like make his pit stop and all that. All that just gone. All the jeopardy of the race gone because of that rule. And it was always going to be like, even the mediums, like George Russell did 77 laps on mediums. Like, that's another debate. Like, should a medium tyre last 77 laps? But then they're going so slow, aren't they?
Quicker than most out
and
there
he was quicker.
At the end as well,
yeah,
on the mediums,
exactly.
which is crazy to look at. But yes, I don't get it. I don't see why that's allowed. Monaco, it was very much a case of, oh, you thought I was boring, huh? Well, let me show you something. And then it was just free practice 4. That's all that was that we saw today. In fact, actually, free practice has more overtakes than that race.
Free practice was more exciting because there was like moments where they're like brushing the wall and stuff. And
exactly.
They were just cruising, because they knew everyone's done their pit stop, and it was the first time in Formula One history that the top 10 stayed the top 10 for the race.
That's the first time ever.
Ever in history, yeah.
Holy moly!
And
Monaco things.
The sad reality is, it was so predictable from the second that red flag was waved, because it's Monaco. The cars are so reliable now,
and everyone was pushing to about 75% of their capability, which is not what you want to watch. So that beautifully segues us into the next question from P1 Patreon member Chillar. How can we fix the racing at Monaco?
Here we go.
Smaller cars or more overtaking opportunities? Well, look, we've got the cars. We can't do anything about them. They're not going to shrink them. Not anytime soon, anyway. So myself and Tommy were discussing sort of small things you can do to Monaco that perhaps would help. Doesn't change the character of Monaco. And it all comes at the final corner. Just smooth that out. Okay? Because not only is it like quite a fiddly last corner, one of the worst in racing games, I will admit. The way it drops down, just the off camber of it makes it even worse for the driver behind to try with aero wash to get any kind of run down one of the shortest straights in Formula One with DRS, to get any sort of sniff into turn 1. If you just smoothed it out, made it a little bit flatter, and it's a bit easier to get traction out of, maybe we would see one overtake. That's all. That's all we want. Just one. Because, apart from that, there's not much you can really do about Monte Carlo, because it's all very, very set, and it's Monaco. And as soon as you start changing it any more than that, you may as well just go race somewhere else, because it wouldn't be Monaco anymore.
Exactly. Ironically, if you look at a track map of the 1950 Monaco layout, it's actually a better layout for racing, because they don't have the Rascasse, they don't have the swimming pool, and it's one little chicane after the tunnel. So they come out of Tabac, they go straight on, then it's a hairpin, and then straight on again to Saint-Devote. So that is the most annoying thing. I've seen a lot of people go, oh, get rid of the chicane after the tunnel, or make DRS longer, or all this kind of stuff. And I don't think it would work. But what I do think would work is if you just made that final corner. It is such an irritating corner. I don't think Monaco should change. I've said this so many times, but like that one wouldn't change the essence of what Monaco is and keep it like that layout like it's been for years and years. But you just open up that final corner, because it's so annoying watching them come around that final corner where you would get a run down the straight, because we have seen overtaking down that main straight in loads of other series where they can follow a lot closer. Formula E has like 150 odd overtakes there every year. Formula 2 had overtaking. We've seen it in other series, and we've seen it in the past in Formula 1. But it's just that final corner that it's not even just one corner. It kind of comes in and then sticks out again, and it's just so difficult for traction. It just separates the cars.
I think if we're going to race at Monaco, we have to accept what the track is. Maybe that tweak that we've mentioned, but it has to be more around these pit stops, these mandatory pit stops. Have 100%. 2 of them at Monaco. You have to change your dry compounded tyre twice, or you have to use the soft, the medium, and the hard.
If that was a rule, a 2 mandatory tyre, a 2 mandatory stop, then even if you did have the red flag rule, it wouldn't matter because there's still going to be that jeopardy of a pit stop. Exactly. And that is something that I think they were bantering about it because I think they said 5 stops, but George and Max were talking about in the thing where like, oh God, that was so boring, wasn't it? Like something does have to change, which is ironically exactly what I said would happen with Max when he wasn't winning the race, that he'd basically be like, wow, now I understand what this race is like for everyone else now, because you're stuck and you can't overtake. But if you had 2 stops, there were 2 stops in 2011, and it was an exciting race, kept you guessing to the end. You had 3 drivers on 3 different tyres battling out at the end. And even if it is really hard to overtake, you know, at least you're seeing them kind of push and go for it. But as soon as there's 1 stop, it's just kind of game over. And there's surely something that like Pirelli can do just for this one race. I understand that they didn't want to go back as a car company because it's not a great look for them to have tyres exploding like they did at Silverstone and stuff back in like 2013 and 2011. But just for the Monaco Grand Prix, like we shouldn't be having a medium tyre that can last 77 laps. Like that's just not right. That's not the point of what Pirelli were bought in for in the first place. And the point of like running different tyre compounds is the fact that they're not meant to last. So I think that is the easiest fix in the world, just to do that.
Next question and final question comes in from Moulin d'Or. F1 needs 2 stops, or at least a way to force multiple stops. If we have a sprint gimmick, DRS gimmick, changing top 10 starting compound rule from Q2 runners gimmick, let's not pretend we can't do it because it's a gimmick. We want gimmicks.
Spot on. I think this is absolutely spot on. Like
it's true. We do talk about gimmicks. We don't want to, and then we go, actually, we've got DRS. We go.
Let's. And also, you cannot claim that you can't do something special with Monaco when you have 6 random races a year. That's like, let's just do a third of the race on Saturday.
True.
As well.
Very true.
Like you can't. Which also that makes a weekend different to another weekend. So why can't they just embrace? Because it pains me to say it, but Monaco will fall off the calendar if you have that race for the next 10 years. Well, even if you have it the next 5 years, it probably won't last that long.
If Leclerc wins every single one of them, I will personally back it.
And it is sad because I know that and it's always 50-50 every time you do a poll of like, do you like it or not? And there's a lot of fans that don't, and I understand why. But for the fans that do love it, it will be sad the day it goes. So try something. And I think it is time to try something.
I like that. What a beautiful way. Why don't you try something today, if you're listening? Hey, try something new. Let's go to biggest winner, driver or team. Charles Leclerc, next question.
Yeah, easy. Charles Leclerc, got to be. Finally winning Monaco.
Say it again. Say it louder. Come on. Say it again for me. Come on, please.
Charles Leclerc, Monaco winner.
My God. Biggest loser. Alpine. No, they scored a point. Haas. Haas, definitely. I think Haas completely out before they've even got to the top of the hill through K-Mag Masterclass. It's going to be Haas for me.
Yeah. Haas or Alpine, just... I think... I know Alpine scored a point, but it's just unnecessary drama for them, and I think it could linger on. And Perez is a great shout because, of course, the people going, it wasn't his fault, but like you said, he qualified 18th in the first place, and you're always vulnerable, particularly when you're side by side with Kevin Magnussen on the first lap of the race.
You certainly are. Let's now go to our predictions that we made on Wednesday and see how we did. It is 20 apiece with myself and Tommy, but not for long. Let me just settle in here. Let me cook. Because my God, I got my Charles Leclerc spices out this weekend, didn't I?
I'll give you've had 2 years to wait for this.
You're sick. You are. You really are. You God. Biggest good surprise. I went for Charles Leclerc.
Well done.
Give me that point. Yes. 1 point.
Well done. I went for Yuki Tsunoda, who was best of the rest for about the 8 millionth time.
I think
And
you
was
did say
still
7th, though. If I recall, you did say a little P7 or something. You finished 8th.
still biggest good surprise.
Very shocking. Yeah, no, fair enough. He scored points. Well done.
He's
Well done,
having
Yuki.
a great season.
Right, we now go to this next one, which I don't care about, but I will preface this. No, I will post-face this. So, biggest flop, Oscar Piastri. Now, I am aware that my biggest flop streak, well, to the average citizen, the biggest flop streak has ended. However, let me just say that I think I deserve the full point. Do you know why? Because Oscar Piastri did not actually take part in the Monaco Grand Prix. Oscar Piastri Leclerc did. If you take a look at FP1 session standings, it quite clearly states Oscar Piastri - Leclerc. That is, Oscar didn't even take part.
So you predicted a driver that didn't even race, and therefore...
I mean, that's a bad weekend for Oscar.
No, you need to be massing it the other way because you're going to have a massive lead now.
Well, obviously, I'm not going to get a point. Well done, Oscar. You overthrew me. An incredible weekend from Oscar. Very impressive. And the biggest flop streak has come to an end. So, well done, Oscar. I hope you're happy.
And I went for biggest flop, Charles Leclerc, and 2 words I'll say for that. You're welcome.
Oh, don't you even try. Don't you even try. I mean, your biggest flops are
My biggest flop
horrendous,
always becomes the GOAT, so you're welcome that the curse finally broke.
Oh, dear. Thanks, mate. Really appreciate it. Let's get a pole position. Charles Leclerc.
W. Well done.
Man is cooking out here. So, can I just... Where's the double points being given out for Max Verstappen not being it? Let me just remind myself.
It is pole, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, for
pole.
God's sake, I forgot about that.
Thank you very much. 2 points.
Oh, and what's really annoying is I went for such a rogue choice in Oscar Piastri, and he did almost do it. So,
yeah.
No points.
No, 0 points for rogueness, mate. Sorry. And then our top 3. Now, again, is it double points for a different winner that's correct? Because I think it was.
Don't think so. Was it? Is it?
I'm pretty sure if we go against Max Verstappen winning, I think
God,
it is. It's double points galore here, mate. It's absolute cash money.
I can't believe you're cashing in on this. I mean, if your weekend wasn't good enough already with Leclerc winning, you're just absolutely romping away.
Don't worry. I'll get the tips and tricks from old Massey to see what we can do.
Man's predicting Logan Sargent to win next race so I can catch up.
He's going to win. Lance Stroll's winning Canada. You heard it first. So in third place, I said Max Verstappen. That didn't happen. He finished lower than that, which is quite insane for me to say out loud.
I went for Lando Norris. Wasn't on the podium.
No, close, but no cigar. Second place, I went for Carlos Sainz. Close, but absolutely not.
P2, I went for Charles Leclerc.
And the winner of the Monaco Grand Prix, Charles Leclerc.
Double points, well done.
Double points again, thank you very much.
And I went for Oscar Piastri, and oh my God, I cannot believe that I got a top 3 where I correctly predicted that Max would be nowhere, and I'm getting no points from it. I'm absolutely gutted. And also, after the start of the race, I remember thinking like, oh my God, if like Oscar gets Charles on the restart and I got like that would have been Piastri, Leclerc, Norris, and I would have cashed in that for the rest of my life.
You really would have.
I can't believe he actually was quite close to winning with the Grand Prix after that. So I might have to take my glasses off for the next prediction because clearly it's the closest I'm going to get.
Glasses Tommy and Beard Tommy coming out as well. Have you shaved? or is it still there? I can't tell because
it's
it's a bit
still-
pixelated.
well, it's very
My
pixelated.
God. For those watching the video podcast, you are going to be very excited. This is quite something. Tommy looks 19 years old now. It's incredible to
know.
watch. Okay, and then our one crazy prediction. I said Charles gets a Grand Chelem. It wasn't far away.
No,
was
it
just
wasn't.
fastest
Who got
lap
fastest
away.
lap in the end?
I
Was it
want
Max?
to
Or
say...
no, was it Hamilton?
I don't actually know.
I
don't think they
cannot
even,
remember.
Did they even put it on the race? I don't think they even put it
It was
on the
Hamilton.
race.
Yeah, it was Hamilton.
It was?
Yeah, because Hamilton took it from Max quite quickly afterwards.
Fastest lap. It was Hamilton with a 14.165.
This shows this race, like, in a dry race, Hamilton's fastest lap was 2 seconds quicker than Piastri, who finished second. What?
A 16.2 for Oscar Piastri.
Yeah.
Zhou Guanyu had the third fastest lap with a 14.7 in a tractor.
Logan Sargent's fastest lap was quicker than Piastri's.
And Lando Norris's.
In fact, Zhou Guanyu was last, and his fastest lap was quicker than Charles Leclerc's fastest lap. Now that's a stat.
No, but he pit. At least
I know,
Zhou
but it's
pit
still.
for a fresh
I know,
set.
but it's still wild.
Yuki Tsunoda didn't, did he? Or did he pit?
No,
Oh,
I don't think he pit. No,
Did
he
he?
didn't pit. How's Yuki
Did
done?
he not? I
14.7.
think done a 14.7. Yuki Tsunoda, I mean, to be fair, Yuki was going
He
about
was
8
holding
seconds a
everything
lap
back.
slower.
He probably had like 50 lap. He'd probably used like 1% tyre wear that whole race because he was a minute behind, wasn't he?
Valtteri Bottas's fastest lap was on lap 17. I mean, that just... I don't know what that tells you about his race. Everyone
It's
else's was like
it's a
past
ridiculous
lap
race.
50
Like
odd.
it
Yeah,
is just
ridiculous.
hilariously
I love
novel.
Monaco so much. Okay, and then the 3 crazy predictions from you wonderful lot. First and foremost, P1 Patreon member Heather, more or less. Charles breaks his Monaco curse and wins. Oh, yeah. P1 Patreon member TVR driver, Max in the Wall. Oh, no. And P1 Patreon member Sir Brienne, Matt's biggest flop streak finally ends. Oh, yeah, but no. Thanks, Oscar Piastri.
Good prediction from the fans this week, actually.
Yeah, very good.
Because Max did
and from
say
me.
on the radio he hit the wall, so I think he'd be claiming half a point there.
Ooh, Max in the wall, hit the wall.
2.5
maybe half
points.
a point. Yeah, well done. And then you got 1 and I got 5.
Wow.
That is a beautiful little 4-point lead
Let
going
me
into
let
Canada.
me let me just WhatsApp Michael Massey and get him in for the next podcast.
Oh, I'm sure he'll be there in a heartbeat. And Tommy, that sums up. I love, by the way, how the longest podcasts we have are the ones where nothing. We just spent, I think, probably with edits, about 50 minutes talking about lap 1, turn 1.
That is so funny because I literally said this when we were leaving F1 Arcade to someone that I was discussing with them, and it's like, oh, it was not a great race. And I was like, ironically, normally our podcasts are really long when there's a rubbish race because we essentially get to like rant about what things need to be changed and all this kind of stuff. And that is exactly what's happened again. So hope you enjoyed it.
Hope you did as well. So, in a nutshell, Tommy, should Monaco stay?
Yes, absolutely. And I will echo the thing of try something with it. I think there's been enough times drivers now have said something. I actually really liked that question from Moulin d'Or. That the fact, like that
gimmicks,
is really
yeah.
like that's really hit there. That's like, yeah, we do have gimmicks, so
why not have another
embrace
gimmick
it. Like,
to make
yeah,
it a bit
yeah,
more
you
exciting?
can't. Why not?
Why not indeed? That's a great way to end this Monaco Grand Prix podcast. And I will say my final thought is that Charles Leclerc is the king. We absolutely love it. He's won the Monaco Grand Prix. For all of you doubting him, he went through a load of criticism after a few weekends of being a tenth of a second slower than Carlos Sainz, who was having some lovely
Those
weekends
pathetic
himself.
P4s and P3s.
Yeah,
What a
well
wash
done.
driver.
Carlos had a great couple of weekends. Charles was then apparently washed. And how does he bounce back? He wins the Monaco Grand Prix. Thank you and good night.
Mic drop.
Bye.
Bye.